the rule in jail is you don't walk into anybody else's cell under any circumstances. And I had this guy mess with me and say, hey, go get my book off my bed, just so they could have an opportunity to beat my ass. And they did. And I probably needed to have my ass beaten at that point in my life.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got someone special. I got someone who's also in Fast Lane Drive with me. We just had Clem Connor on the show not too long ago. He is the founder of Fast Lane Drive. But I got one of the members. I got someone who has an inspiring story, someone who has a crazy story. So I'm excited to dig into this. I'm actually sober myself right now, almost 100 days. And so I can't wait for this story. I got my man, John Cleary. John, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you coming on. I know we're in Fast Lane together. Clem hit me up and he was like, hey, you got to hear this guy's story. It's incredible. It's inspiring. It's moving. And so I can't wait to dig in. I don't even know your story. So if you're listening to this right now, this is the first time of me hearing the stories as well. So excited to dig into it, man. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rich.
So, I guess first things first, man, we're talking drug use, we're talking alcohol use. Give me a little backstory, man. How bad are we talking?
Yeah, well, with me, I'm what they call a purebred alcoholic. Not many of those anymore, right? That most of the people that present in treatment centers or present in jails, institutions, they have, multiple addictions, right? Drugs, alcohol. And when I went into my last treatment center, they didn't believe me. They said, no, you've got to be taking something. Nobody can get as screwed up as you are with just drinking alcohol. And by the end of it, they said, holy crap, this guy really is a purebred alcoholic.
Mm.
And I always joke with people, I was too drunk to go find drugs. So that's probably why I never got into it.
Okay. So how much were you drinking back then? How old are you? Just for perspective.
Yeah, I'm 56.
Yeah. How old were you back then?
Back then, I was probably the most acute part of my alcoholism was like 32 to 35.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And how much I was drinking was, towards the end, I'd go through a handle of vodka in 2 days, easily a fifth every day, and then looking for more. Yeah.
And would you wake up in the morning and start drinking, or what time of day would you start drinking?
Yeah, I would have to start drinking in the morning just from the withdrawals and the DTs I had. It was, it wasn't a choice, right? I had to find a way to get my body in a position to keep it from, having a seizure. So yeah, not even waking up. I was waking up in the middle of the night just to maintain a level of alcohol in my system to prevent, bad stuff from happening.
I had Brandon Novak on the show, MTV Jackass. He was a professional skateboarder. I had him on a few months ago, and now he owns like alcohol rehab centers and all that. But he's got some dark stories about drug, alcohol abuse, and he was kind of similar age, to you, early 30s, late 20s when he was really getting heavy into it. Now he's sober, but I got to tell you, man, I've been sober. I did 76 days. This is the first year. I'm 39 years old right now. This is the first time in my entire life that I ever went sober. And I did 76 days earlier this year. It changed my life. And then I drank a little bit during the summer for a couple months. And then since Labor Day weekend, I've been sober, and I'm doing another 100 days. I'm almost at 100 days now, and I'm going to keep this going. But it's changed my life in so many ways. How many days sober are you now? How many years?
19 years.
19 years. Okay.
Just a couple of weeks ago.
Damn. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. And what you're doing, a lot of people are doing that now. They're not
It's the new flex.
Addicted. They're not dependent on alcohol, but they like the way they feel when it gets out of their system. Their workouts are better. Their relationships get better. Their sleep gets better. And I know a lot of people who aren't alcoholic, but they say, hey, I've been sober for 2 years. Just, a matter of lifestyle.
It's honestly the new flex, man.
Yeah.
Like waking up early, being sober, not experiencing any hangovers, operating at 110%, and really reaching your true potential. And to me, we only have so many days left in this life. I'm 39, right? Average life expectancy is 77. I always say months is the best way to measure how much time we have left. Okay. So for me, I have about 450 months left until I reach that age. And there's no guarantee I'll reach that age. And so for me, I'm like, I think about these things. I'm like, why would I put myself in a situation to where I'm going to be operating at 40% capacity half of the week I'm hungover. I'm not living my full potential and living my full purpose because I'm hungover. I'm always under the weather. Why would I do that when I only have 450 months left? Why not maximize my time here? And so since I kind of gave it up, it's been a life changing, man. Everything. It's been so great. And I was not an alcoholic like yourself. This is just me like socially drinking 2, 3 times a week. But too often, 2 glasses of wine for happy hour would turn into a late night. And so for me, I'm like, you know what? Even if I'm drinking a few glasses of wine in the evening, the entire next day I'm operating at 50% capacity. Dude, that compounded over weeks, over months, over years is a big, big difference in it. And for me, since I've been sober, man, a lot of good things have happened. I'm going to do a video soon, or I'll probably do a podcast soon of like what the effects of doing 100 days no drinking are, at least for me, and what I noticed in terms of changes. Talk about for you, man. Because, you 19 years, like what's, I'm sure it's a big game changer for you. How long did you drink prior to the 19 years?
I think I started drinking when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, so now I think I've been sober more than I've drank in my life. So, I was just very typical. I, drank in high school, drank a lot of beer, binge drank in college, drank through law school, but very high functioning. I would finish my studying for the day, probably have one more glass of scotch than I normally, should have. And then, as you hit your 30s, right, and life gets more stressful, you have one coping mechanism, and that's what you go to, and that's what I did. And it hits a point where it's like a light switch. The addiction, the dependence on alcohol just goes on, and you don't know when it's going to happen, right? I always have people tell me, like, so how will I know when I don't want to be an alcoholic like you. How do I prevent that? It's like, dude, if I knew how to prevent it, I would have prevented it. It just happens. And once that switch is on and your body's dependent on it, I mean, there's no going back. You lose the choice whether to drink or not.
So you mentioned you wake up in the morning, start drinking. What would you drink in the morning?
Vodka. It was
Vodka.
all
Just
vodka.
straight out of the bottle?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're drinking just to feel normal, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to drink myself right.
Just right. Okay.
Yeah, and I had, I had a lot of failed jobs during that time, right? I couldn't hold down a job.
Did you ever get caught drinking at work?
Yeah.
And fired from it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, multiple times. Probably four times. But what I would do, I would wake up and have to go to work, right? So I was in no condition to go to work, so I'd have to drink myself right. So first of all, I got to stop the shaking. So I'd have some drinks to do that. And then I had to calm myself, and then I'd go into work. But the problem, you can't just hit your mark of drinking yourself right. It's not like there's that sweet spot and you stay in it. You blow through it. And before you know it, security's walking you out of, the office and they're telling you to get the hell out of there.
So would you wake up with a hangover before you got to go to work? Like explain how that feels, because I know for most people, you go out and enjoy, 2 glasses of wine, and then if it turns into 3, 4, 5, and you end up having a late night, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be hungover. And the older you get, the worse the hangovers get. But as an alcoholic, where you're like, hey, I'm just drinking myself to feel normal, get rid of the shakes, get rid of the withdrawals. Are you waking up with a hangover? Like, what does that feel like when you wake up in the morning?
Yeah, that's a good question. I never thought about that, but I know what a hangover feels like, and it's not a hangover. It's a really high level of anxiety. It manifests very physically in shaking, and it's almost like having a panic attack where you're just absolutely desperate. It's not the kind of hangover where you're laying in bed saying, "Oh, I feel like crap." It's much more serious than that.
Damn. And so you have some drinks, and then you said there's a sweet spot, but you're blown right past the sweet spot. And so you go from withdrawals, sweet spot, and then you blow through it, and now you're in a different zone. What is the zone for you?
Yeah, well, that zone, you're drunk again, right? And you're drunk at work, or maybe you're a housewife and you got to pick the kids up at 3:00, but you had to drink yourself right in the morning, and you've blown through that, but you still got to pick up the kids, so you're picking up your kids drunk.
How old are your kids at this time?
Well, that was just hypothetically. That wasn't me. Fortunately for me, I got sober before my kids ever had to see me drink.
Oh, that's good.
So, they've lived, in a household with a sober dad their whole life.
Okay.
And of really how bad everything got for me, really where, I hit my bottom, right? Yeah, I hit many bottoms on the way down, hit many of those ladder rungs on the way down, but when I finally what ended up being my bottom, fortunately, I don't have any strained relationship with my kids
Mm,
because of it, and that's pretty rare that I don't
that's
have
good.
that.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So, what was rock bottom for you?
I think it was emotional, it was mental, it was being sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then the outward consequence where, I had 4 DUIs in a period of 13 months.
Damn. 4 DUIs in a period of 18 months?
13 months.
4 DUIs in 13
Yeah,
months. Oh my gosh. Okay, so how does that even happen? Because you get one, you get like slap on the wrist, right? You get a second one. You're not even allowed to drive, right? If you get a
yeah.
second one. So
I got them so fast, they couldn't sentence me on one before I got another one.
damn.
They just kept piling up, and, yeah, I mean, I can laugh about it now, you know, 20 years after it happened, but, it was pretty dark. I mean, I was, a lawyer at a, you know, good law firm at the time, and I was struggling at work, obviously, and then I found myself in the legal problems I was in, and, it's a tragic story, right? But, and the fact that I got 4 in the scope of 13 months, it doesn't mean it just means I had too many keys in the in the house. But, they don't after your first one, they don't let you get by without paying a price, and, I ended up having to do many months, in custody before I could clear that behind me, and, I think it was that process of going through that really kinda got me in a position to where I was willing to take some direction
Mm.
as to how to put my life back together.
Yeah, that's heavy, man. So, what happens after you get a third and a fourth DUI? What do they tell you?
The 3rd and the 4th, so anything after 2, are felonies.
Mm.
This happened in the state of Kansas.
Okay, all of
So
them in Kansas.
yeah, all of them in
What
Kansas.
city?
Kansas City.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've been there before. Go Chiefs.
Yeah, go Chiefs. Yeah, so the 3rd and 4th are felonies, you gotta do time for it. Leading up to the sentencing, I had gone to another treatment center, which happened to be my last treatment center, and I was living in South Park in a great recovery home for men called Pathfinders, because I had moved back here to San Diego, and went back to Kansas for sentencing. The judge said, "What you're doing is great. You look better. You're living in this recovery home, but I have to keep you in my custody in my state." So I went there and, had a rude awakening my first day when I walked in there, and a lot of very, very unique, now funny stories about my time in custody.
Damn. How many days did you spend in the pen?
In total, about 180.
Damn, 180 days.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
And are these are you these other folks in custody, 180 days? Are these other people that are getting DUIs? Are these people that are committing other crimes? What is the bulk of those folks?
Bulk of it is, people committing other crimes, and because I wasn't gonna do more than a year, they kept me in county.
Okay, county.
Yeah, and you always hear people talk about,
Is county the roughest?
county's the roughest
Really? Why is that?
because people are in and out. Violent criminals get put in with everybody, until they get placed where they need to get placed. So I was with a lot of offenders that were coming off really long sentences, getting ready to be released. So, every other day I'd have a new cellmate. I had, 40 guy did 40 years for murder. I had a guy, child molester. I had all these kind of guys,
Mm,
and a guy who beat his wife with an axe. And I'm just sitting here. I'm a friggin' lawyer sitting there like, oh, Jesus.
damn. What's the craziest thing you saw happen in county jail?
Probably what happened to me was the craziest thing I saw. Um, the first day I walked in there, the rule in jail is you don't walk into anybody else's cell under any circumstances. And I had this guy mess with me and say, "Hey, go get my book
Mhm.
off my bed,"
Mm.
just so they could have an opportunity to beat my ass, and they did, and I probably needed to have my ass beaten at that point in my life. It probably accelerated me to the emotional bottom I had to get to, but so so after that, I had
So hold
another
on real quick, what happened? They said, "Go get my book from your bed?"
from their bed
From their
to
bed.
force me to or to convince me to walk into their
They would
cell.
grab your book and then throw it on the bed and say, "Come get your book?"
They would say, "Go into my cell and get my book," to convince me to walk into their cell, and you
Mm.
don't walk into anybody else's
And
cell
why did you walk in?
because he asked me to get his book, and I didn't know the
Oh, you
rule.
didn't know the rule.
So they beat my ass, and then another group
Just
of
for no reason.
yeah, no reason.
Damn. You just one guy in there?
2 guys.
Two guys.
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah,
Just for no reason to get jumped.
yeah.
How does that end? They stop or like the security comes
So,
in?
yeah, what happened was when I got nothing to do, I'll sketch, and I was just sketching on a back of an envelope they give you, and these other guys said, "Can you sketch Our Lady of Guadalupe on my envelope that I can send home to my family?" And I did it, and they're like, "Wow, that's great. What do you want for it? Do you want soup? What do you want?" And I told them, "I just want those guys not to beat my ass anymore." And they're like, "Okay, we'll cover you with those guys. Just keep drawing." So
Damn.
so I bought my protection, by drawing Our Lady of Guadalupe on envelopes.
Damn, that's crazy. If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. So you're in 180 days.
Right.
What happens when you get out, right? You got 4 DUIs at this point. You get out. What is that like walking out into real world? Because you're sober in jail, right? You're not drinking.
Right.
Is that how you got sober?
No, before I went into jail, I went to my last treatment center, spent about 40 days there, and then spent a couple months at the recovery home, and so I had some sobriety going in.
Going in, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but you get out of prison now, or out of county jail. You're already what, 9 months at this time, sober?
Yeah.
So, okay. So at this point, this is a fresh start. What is that feeling like walking out?
It was pretty scary
Why is that?
because so walking out with that behind me, I had no job. I had no prospects for a job, given what I had just gone through. I was an absolute clean slate, right? I was absolutely broke. I had, put money away and I had a 401k and blew through all that. So I was broke and unemployable. So it was, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
Which way do I move my foot for the first step?
Mm.
And the advice I was given is do one esteemable thing a day. And over time, you will get self-esteem. And when you get self-esteem, you become valuable to people. You project that you know what you're doing, that you can do a job. So it was, I wanted it all to change. I wanted to snap my finger and be back where I was. And it was things like, grocery store, somebody leaves their cart over by where their car was, I'd grab it and I'd put it in the little corral. So I did an esteemable thing today. And, over, a period of months, I was able to find a way into a job. I was able to rescue my law license, right? That wasn't easy. So I accomplished that, found my way into this, very, very humbling job, given, what the kind of work I was doing before in that job I walked into. Found my way into that in just one day at a time of just taking a step in the right direction.
I love that you say that one day at a time, because I always say if you're not confident, go give yourself a reason to be confident, and it all starts with action, right? I say this all the time. It all starts with action. If you don't know where to start, take action, one step at a time, one day at a time. action leads to competency. Competency leads to competence.
Right. That's exactly I mean, it was pitched in AA language, but the exact same message.
Oh, they said that in AA.
Yeah, AA says the same thing, which is take the next right action, divorced from self-will, self-interest, self-seeking. Do something where when you put your head on the pillow at night, you have a little bit more self-esteem than you had and a little more self-confidence than you had, knowing that whatever you could do in a one-day period, you were able to keep the ship pointed in that direction. And it's a constant acknowledgement. It's not going to happen in 1 day, 2 days, probably 100 days. But unless you do these things every day, it's never going to happen. And that's where I think your message and that message line up.
Yeah, that's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take it one step at a time. Each day gets slightly better than the previous day. Each week gets better than the previous week. And you get this job, and then you fast forward to now. You're married. You got two daughters. You built this successful life. How did you know your wife at this time?
Yeah,
you did.
Actually, I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters.
Three daughters. Yeah, 19, 17, and 11. We decided to have a child at 44.
Okay, 19, 17, and 11. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And you knew your wife were you married at the time when you got out of the pen?
Yeah, we were fairly newly married.
Damn, and you got to go in for 180 days.
And yeah, there's a
that's
whole
that's
other,
got to be tough. What's that like?
it was tough. It was very good for my wife. I put her through absolute hell because when I'm at work getting fired from jobs, that same guy has to come home and he has the same behaviors and the same level of toxicity. And she had to deal with that. So we were recently married, and we had our first baby. And when everything kind of where I had to, I say that I spent my sabbatical in a gated community in Kansas. That's where I spent my time. My daughter was 6 months old.
Damn.
So yeah, it was, you talk about what alcoholism does to the family, not to the individual suffering from it. I mean, it's a disease that it takes no prisoners. It takes people down with it. And, I had, my wife moved back to San Diego. We were in Kansas, with her 6-month-old daughter and a husband who knows if I was going to get any better. Who knows if I was going to, end up in jail and start drinking out of the toilet, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely a lot of, your wife showed a lot of like, just, loyalty while you're in the pen for 180 days and, you get out, then you guys did you already have a daughter before you went in?
She was 6 months old.
She was 6 months old. Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But she was too young to remember.
Oh yeah. Too young to remember.
And then you guys had 2 more.
Then we had 2 more.
Damn.
We had our sobriety baby, who's 17 now. And then we just decided at 44 we weren't done. We're having another kid.
And congrats, man. I love that the story ends good. Give us a snapshot of what you're doing now, because I think it's important for anyone listening to this, that if you're struggling with alcohol abuse or you're struggling with drug abuse or whatever it is, maybe it's you're struggling with some mental things that are going on. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and things are never as good as they seem. Things are never as bad as they seem. But if you persevere, you work hard, you take it one step at a time, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So give us a snapshot of where you are today.
Yeah, I always tell newly sober people that I work with to write a wants list. Tell me what you want. And I don't want to hear, Louis Vuitton bag and Lamborghini. No, tell me what you want out of your life. Because a year from now, you're going to be amazed at how you short-sold yourself. Your life is going to be better than you ever could have imagined. You're going to look at your alcoholism as a gift because it forced you to, acknowledge things about yourself, work on yourself, become a better person, become a better, husband, wife, worker among workers type thing. So yeah, where I am today is I do, I work with a lot of alcoholics that are new. The one thing I'm really focusing on now is the mental part of alcoholism. So there's a physical addiction part, but it's such a cunning disease that you protect your drinking at all costs. Nobody can take it. So you're looking at life through a funhouse mirror. What you think is real is not real. Everything is to protect your ability to have your medicine. So I've been working with a lot of people on kind of how do you recognize and acknowledge, okay, I'm looking through a funhouse mirror right now because everybody in the room knows it except that person.
Say that one more time, a
Like
funhouse mirror?
you walk into a funhouse and the mirror makes you fat or makes you
Yes.
skinny.
Yes.
It's like, it's not reality. Their reality is completely different. And I think that one of the keys to recovery is that minute you say, okay, I'm the screwed up one here. I'm not thinking right. That's the crack in the door to open you up to recovery.
One of my favorite sayings is, no one's coming to save you except for the person standing in the mirror. And it goes with what you're saying. I think it all starts with acknowledging, identifying, hey, and this is not just, recovering from alcohol or whatever it might be. It's everything in life, just accountability.
Yeah. And that's
you're the only person that's going to fix the situation.
That's right. I mean, it's part of the big book of AA is no human power can restore your sanity. I can't, go to my parents. I can't go to my wife. I can't go to somebody else and say, fix me. I can't go to a therapist and say, fix me. It's an internal job. And that's why it's so hard. Because you've got, ego in the middle of it. You've got everything blocking the ability to, and it's crazy that people have such a difficult time admitting to themselves that they're flawed. Everybody's flawed. And all you have to do is figure out why you're flawed and work on it. Progress, not perfection. One of my flaws is I'm just crazy selfish. I'm always looking for what I want, right? But because I know that, I make intentional efforts to act in the opposite way. I really want to play golf today, but my kid's got a volleyball game, and I could justify all day long why I want to play golf and why it's better, but that's not the right thing to do. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing today is just working with a lot of people and continuing to work on myself, right?
Yeah, no, that's big. That's really big. If someone out there is struggling with alcohol abuse right now, what would you suggest they do to start? What is the first step to recovery?
First step is quit drinking, right? And depending on where you are on the scale of alcoholism, right, it can be either really easy, really difficult, or it can be potentially deadly if you're going to have a seizure. So if you're in that situation where if you're waking up with the shakes, that means you need to detox medically. But if somebody's having trouble due to alcohol, I tell them, first of all, do 30 days. Stay sober for 30 days. I'm not telling you to go to rehab. I'm not telling you to go to an AA meeting. Just don't drink for 30 days. 90% of the time they call me a week later and they said, I drank. I said, okay, well, sounds like you've lost your power to control your drinking because you made a pledge to yourself not to drink for 30 days. So do we need to take it up a level? Do you need to go to rehab? Maybe show up in an AA meeting, maybe do something like that. So that's usually the way I'll work with people that really need to get sober. And they're usually the last person to know they need to get sober.
I like what you said. You said, just start with 30 days. When I took a break from drinking, I call it a season of like non-drinking, and I never was a full-blown alcoholic. So I don't have experience with that. But I was drinking, socially 2 to 3 times a week, and sometimes 2 glasses of wine, like I alluded to, would turn into a late night. And this was happening far out too often. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to do 14 days. My barber here, his name's Oscar, here in San Diego. And this guy would come into the office every single Friday and cut me. And one day he said, hey, Rich, I can't come into the office anymore. I said, how come? And he said, because I bought my own shop. His name was Oscar. And he had stopped drinking for like 4 months. At this time, he had lost a lot of weight. He was going to the gym. He got in shape. And then, sure enough, he bought his own shop. And so now I still go and see him. But I remember going and seeing him, and asking him about how the no drinking went. And he inspired me to do it. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do 14 days. And at the end of the 14 days, I was like, man, like this feels so good. I want to keep it going. And so I like what you said. I say this as well. I'm like, hey, try it for just a little bit. And if it's for you and you like it, you're going to want to keep it going. Also, I say this, if you are using the time away from alcohol to level up your life, to improve your life, to, grow, whether it's your business, your fitness, friendships, whatever, relationships, all these buckets, you're using it to grow, it's a lot easier to stop, I feel. And so I like that mindset. I say, hey, just try 14 days. If it's for you, you keep it going.
Right. And a lot of what you talk about in this podcast and a lot of, your social media is, how do I get better?
Yeah.
How do I go from where I am and not plateau and keep getting better? And what's fascinating to me is how that kind of just really kind of goes very, very similar to, somebody who is working a AA program, a 12-step program.
Yeah.
It's in the 12 steps every day, every night before you go to bed, you take an inventory of your day. And you don't beat yourself up over making bad decisions or doing the wrong thing. It's assets, liabilities. It's a true inventory. What did I do good today? Because we can get into this mode where weeks go by, months go by. We're on autopilot. I stop at Starbucks. I go to work. Then I go watch my show. And you're not focused on, am I getting better? And it has to be deliberate.
Yeah. Any last messages for someone listening to this that's struggling with alcohol abuse that you would like to share with them?
Yeah, it will get better. It can get better quickly. And if you stick with it, I'm telling you, your life will be better than it ever could have been without it, given the level of self-searching you have to do and leveling of your pride. There's nothing more attractive in any relationship to people, business or otherwise, than somebody who's humble. And the work you have to do to become a long-term sober person, you've got to get humble.
Do you feel like with recovery, it is good or is it counterproductive to spend time with other addicts that are recovering?
It's essential.
It's essential.
It's essential.
Why is that?
Well, number one, you have to give back to what was given to you. I walked into an AA meeting for the first time and people reached out their hand and they took me to coffee. And so part of it's giving back. And the other thing, if you're working with fresh ones, you never forget how bad it was for yourself. You're always taken back to the fact that you were just like this person.
So, because I think the alternative is hang out with other people that are not drinking, but are not recovering addicts. Do you think that if you were recovering or I was recovering, if I'm hanging out with a group of people that don't drink, but they're not recovering addicts and they're maybe like moving the needle more, they're more growth mindset, they're doing bigger things versus the group over here that are recovering addicts and they're not drinking, but they're recovering addicts and they're not really moving the needle yet. Which one option would you choose?
Pick the first one.
The first one.
You've got to, and that's again where the AA message and the way of living just parallels so much with what you focus on. Is I don't care if you're in AA working a program, if you're not moving the needle, you're going backwards. You've got to be growing.
David Goggins says it all the time. If we're not growing, we're slowly dying.
Yeah.
No one stays the same.
Yeah.
Life is short. There's people are out there. There's hungry people out there. However, the bar has never been this low. For those who truly want it, the bar has never been this low. I mean, I think about my journey, business, real estate, all this stuff 5 years ago, 6 years ago, like this was not even on the table. And I knew nothing about business or real estate 6 years ago. I knew nothing about the content game 2.5 years ago, right? And so for those who truly want it, and if you put yourself in situations where the hard way is on the only way, you put yourself in situations where the hard work has to get done, the bar has never been so low for those who truly want it. And so I think if you're listening to this, and you're struggling with addiction or you're struggling with whatever it is, maybe it's a death in the family, maybe it's a divorce, maybe you're out of shape, whatever the hell it is, I'm telling you guys right now, if you dedicate yourself and you commit, and you do the hard work and you stay consistent for 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, a lot of things will turn around and you will look back and your life will change in so many fucking ways that you never thought were possible. I truly believe that anything in this world is possible if you get in the right groups, you surround yourself in the right circles, and you do the work and you stay consistent and you do the hard work, regardless of your feelings, regardless of your emotions. You got to do the fucking work.
That's right.
Any last words?
I think you said it perfectly. Life is set up in a way where days can turn into weeks, into months, right? That there is no leveling up because we've got the same job, we've got the same bed we sleep in, the same TV shows we watch, in the same coffee shop. Like I said, it has to be deliberate. And I'm telling you, if you stick with it, if you're a alcoholic, newly sober, wants to get sober, if you stick with it, or if you're just trying to, better yourself in your career, you have to be deliberate about it. And you do something every day. It can be small, but something every day to get you where you want to go. And you're going to blow through what you thought your goals were.
I love it. John, appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate you sharing your story. Where can the folks get in touch with you?
You can reach me at my email, which is john.cleary@gtlaw.com.
There it is. Dropping fire, dropping the emails. He's John Cleary, always looking fly, and I will see you at the Fastlane event this December 14th, Holiday Drive. Excited for it. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. I'm Rich Summers. We'll see you guys on the next one. Happy holidays. Let's go. Peace.